Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Sarah Riel Inc. Resource Review. My name's Danielle Lester. I'm the Community Connections Coordinator here at Sarah Riel. And today I'm very excited because we are joined by Tim St. Vincent from the Credit Counselling Society. Hello, Tim.
Hi there. Gee, I don't know if I can match that level of energy and enthusiasm, but I'll see what I can do.
We'll just get a couple more cups of coffee in you and then
That'll
you'll be
do
on my level.
it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I was really excited actually to be the person to sit down and host your interview because credit counseling sounds very scary. you know,
It can sound scary. I do get that, but it really isn't.
and I'm really excited for you to explain why that is. So maybe let's start with what is the Credit Counseling Society?
Okay, well, what we are is we're a nonprofit organization. We're based out of BC, but we look after people from BC to Ontario, and we look after the territories as well. So we look up the Yukon, Nunavut, everything up north. We look after them as well. And really, what we're all about is trying to help people understand what our financial system is, how it works. The good parts, the not so good parts, the tricky parts, and we do this through two main areas. We help them through education, which is the side I'm on. And as part of that, I work with organizations like Sarah Riel. And we do workshops and webinars to help people understand how our financial system works. And really the people that we reach out to will range from the people who are going to the food banks, people who are at a very high level of need and are struggling just to put food on the table. I work with the Canadian Mental Health Association as well. I work with Corrections Canada. That's a nice way of saying I go to jail once a month, but they keep letting me out, so those parking tickets haven't caught up to me yet. But I also work with the big banks. I work with the lenders. I work with the credit unions. I work with places like Investors Group, Freedom 55, large employers like Boeing, city, provincial, federal governments, the Law Society.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it's quite a range. And I mentioned that range intentionally from the people who are really struggling and going to the food banks to the Law Society, because that really represents the range of people who could come to us for help. For people who might be unemployed, might not have the best of education, who are struggling just day by day, to professionals with several degrees behind their names, making in excess of 300,000 a year. Um, you know,
Right.
the only difference between someone who's making a lot of money and someone who's maybe more marginalized is, well, the person making a lot of money, they have a couple more zeros behind the mistakes they're making, but they make the exact same types of mistakes.
Well, absolutely. Finances don't discriminate in that sense, right?
Exactly.
Debt is
Exactly.
debt is debt is debt, regardless of who has that debt. So if someone is, they're experiencing that debt or they're getting a little overwhelmed and worried, and they give you a call, what
hmm
can they expect during that first phone call?
Perfect, because that's the second half of what we do. The first half is the education, so we hope if we provide the foundation, people won't have problems. We know that's a little ambitious. So the second half of what we focus on is the individual one-on-one credit counseling. So it's important to know we don't loan money. There are people out there who will give themselves the label of credit counselors. And for the most part, all you do is pay a $50 fee, a $75 fee, depending on your province, and you can get a nice little certificate that says, "Hey, I'm a credit counselor." That's all it takes. Our credit counselors also have to achieve a designation that takes about a year and a half of study. So it goes beyond that. But what can you expect? Well, the first thing is acceptance and non-judgmental atmosphere. Anyone and everyone can have financial difficulties, and one of the greatest barriers to people coming to see us for help is a sense of embarrassment, a sense of reluctance, willing to admit that they're having problems, thinking that it's only them, nobody else is struggling. Half the country is having problems. This is before COVID. 50,
Wow.
50% of us come out and say we're living check to check.
Wow.
At one point in time, 48% of people said if their paycheck was delayed just 1 week, they'd have problems paying their bills. Right?
Absolutely. And I think
So
like you said now, especially with all of the COVID stuff, people are really
yeah.
experiencing that.
Yeah, yeah, and to some extent, COVID is hiding some of the problems because people who are collecting CERB right now, and some people are actually better off having CERB, and they're managing the system, and they're not realizing and they're forgetting that CERB is taxable, which means they're going to have a tax bill down the road. But I'm kind of getting a little sidetracked there. Let's pull myself back to the question, and feel free to pull me back because I do that sometimes. So again, what can you expect? A non-judgmental atmosphere. Typically, people will call into our toll-free line. They'll talk to our client care team. They're awesome. They're like a triage unit in many ways. Some people, they can help just by chatting with them, giving them some information. That's all they need. Some people need to go on to see a credit counselor. To give you an idea of the size of the need, last year we had about 83,000 people come to us for help.
Wow.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we're nonprofits. We advertise a little, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So when they go in to see a credit counselor, again, the atmosphere is all about acceptance because we've all have had challenges at one time or another. So we don't do consumer proposals or bankruptcies, though we will explain how those options work because there's nothing wrong with them. It's a matter of the right solution, right time for the right person. And ideally, we try and help people before they get to that stage, but we can't help everyone. Some people we do need to forward on to a trustee. So what the credit counselor will do is they'll explain how all those processes work, just so they can understand them. And then they'll go through a mini financial review that's really geared towards creating a budget. And then once we've created the budget with the person, we'll show them what's working, what isn't working, and some possible danger signs. Now, at that point in time, many people will say, hey, this is great. This is all the help I need. I've got a budget. We also offer about 25 to 30 publicly available webinars a month. They say, I've got all these free webinars I can go to. They can always call us back for additional help if they need any. So they've got all this free support. But a certain percent, need a little bit more help. And they'll go into what we call a debt management program. And what we do in the debt management program is essentially we'll take the budget we've just prepared and we go and talk to all your lenders. And we'll say, well, look, this is how much money this person's making. This is how much is going towards debt. Long term, this isn't going to work. They're heading towards some difficulties. And instead of letting people go down that very challenging path, we work with the lenders to bring the interest rates down towards zero. Then from the money we can save by the reduced interest rates, the money we can save through the budgeting process, we'll redirect those funds to pay off the debt.
Oh.
It's not a quick fix. Anyone
No,
who's, yeah,
for sure. But it definitely sounds like you're walking with people as they're
absolutely.
doing that. Like if I were to call my credit card person and be like, I would like this thing, please. Like I wouldn't know the words to say or the lingo, or I guess I
Yeah,
wouldn't necessarily have that that clout.
yeah,
So that's great that you guys are able to walk down that path with folks and really
yeah.
explain to them what is happening with their credit and what different parts of their credit mean.
hmm Well, most of the people who go into the program complete it successfully, which is why the lenders honestly work with us, because the people who we're talking to at this stage are having some significant challenges and are in potential jeopardy of looking at a bankruptcy. If not now, maybe a year to 3 years down the road. And typically the lenders will get 0 to 10% back.
Okay.
And we really focus on paying back 100% of the amount that was owed. And that's why the lenders will work with us, because honestly, it's in their interest to. And it works out great
Absolutely.
for the client because they can help repay their debt, and they've learned a strategy in terms of how to manage their money so they don't get back into the same problem that they've had. We actually have a repeat rate of clients coming back to us of less than 1%.
Wow.
Yeah, and we love that. We're a type of business that we don't want repeat business.
Yeah.
I mean, with 83,000 people contacting us a year, we've got more, unfortunately, more than enough to do. We've been around for 24 years, and in that time, we've helped people pay back almost $500 million.
Whoa, that's a big number.
That is a big number.
That's
And
a
honestly, it's
very
another
large
reason.
number.
Yeah, that's another reason why the lenders like to work with us, because they know if we weren't around, if we weren't trying to work with the clients and work with them, good chance that money would have, gone through a bankruptcy, in which case they would have gotten very little, if any, of that back.
Right. So creditors almost in a sense, like you're saying, they prefer to work with you guys on a debt management plan so that they're also getting their full amount back.
Absolutely, for the most part, absolutely. And we work with all the banks, all the major credit card companies. We work with credit unions. Even payday lenders will work with us to reduce interest rates.
Okay. So like you were saying before, so really like going to the Credit Counseling Society can be for anybody.
Absolutely.
Anybody can call. They can either leave it at just asking their questions over the phone. For some people that might work. Other people would go into this debt management program. So for the folks that are in the debt management program, you sort of talk to what is expected between you and the lenders. So what is expected from your clients then when they're in that debt management program? How much checking in is there? How much, I guess, control of their finances does Credit Counseling Society maybe take on? Those kinds of things.
Well, we don't take control of their finances, and this is really important to understand, because if we do, quite honestly, they don't learn anything, right? And then they do come back to us. So we have regular 6-month follow-ups with the clients to make sure they're staying on track. They have to take a minimum of 2 education courses with us. One is on budgeting, which is the core of what we focus on, learn how to live within your income stream. And then they have a list of about 25 electives that they can choose for the second course. A lot of people, once they've taken the first 2, they get into the programs and they see the value of what it represents. So they quite often will take more than the 2 that are required. So there is work required, on behalf of the client, because if we do all the work, they're going to have challenges again. Part of the program, and this is probably one of the more challenging parts, is that initially they have to give up their credit cards. It might not be the best analogy, but the strongest analogy I can think of is AA. If you have a drinking problem, you can't go to AA and keep drinking. Okay, so the people who are coming to us, they've never learned how to live with credit. And to a larger extent, they've come to think of credit as an extension of income. Hey, I've got a $10,000 credit card. I've got $10,000. Well, no, you don't. Credit and debt are different. They're 2 separate things. They're interlinked, but they're separate. I have a $10,000 credit card. That means I have $10,000 of other people's money, not my money. And that's credit. And credit costs you nothing, unless there's an annual user fee on your card or something. Credit costs you nothing. I can have a $10,000 credit card. If I have no annual fee, it costs me nothing. It's free. The very second I use credit, it becomes debt. Okay. And once it becomes debt, I've used other people's money. It was never mine to start with. And they want it back, and they want it back with interest. And we've come to think of it as our money, and it's not. So the first thing we do is you have to give up your credit cards. You have to cancel them. You come into our office. You cut them up. We got nice big jars.
Ceremoniously cut them up and put them in a jar.
Absolutely. Now, once people have been in the program for a while and they're doing well, and they've learned that they don't need credit as a financial crutch, because that's really what it is, we reintroduce credit into the program, usually through a small $500, what's called a secured credit card. It's a little bit different from a regular credit card, because we first teach them how to live without credit, and then we teach them how to live with credit. Because if you think about it, how does credit work in our system right now, in our society? It's like, hey, congratulations, you're 18 years old, have a credit card. Totally. Or hey, congratulations, welcome to Canada, have a credit card.
Or you've paid off 3 times, like you get this advance on your credit card. Yep. It's so tempting.
And that's the main thing people need to realize. It's tempting, and it's normal, and it's human to be drawn in by that. I always tell people credit is neither good nor bad, right? Think of it's like a medicine, right? It's all about how you use it. If you use your medicine correctly, it is very, very good and beneficial for you. If, however, you abuse your medicine, it can drag you down into a dark, dark place so fast you'll have no idea how you got there. But no one really teaches us how to take our medicine. And that's the challenge, and that's part of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to teach people how to use it correctly.
Absolutely. Wow, this was so informative. That's amazing. I feel like I'm already looking at my credit in such a different light, because you don't get a lot of that credit education in school and stuff. So it's amazing that there's an organization like yourselves that are out there so non-judgmental for folks that can reach out and connect with you if they are struggling.
Yeah. Well, if anyone is struggling, wants to reach out to us, they can contact us. If it's okay, I'll give you our toll-free number.
Absolutely.
It's 1-888-527-8999. And that'll take you through to our head office in BC. See, I don't know if this will show up. Oh, no, it won't show up. Say, see,
I'll
here's our
make sure we
card.
put it in the description below in the video.
Sounds good. And they'll take you to our client care team. You go through like a normal answering system. It'll say if you want to speak to someone, press 1. So press 1. They'll take you to client care, and they'll chat with you, and they'll see what type of help you need. And if you need to see a credit counselor, they'll set up an appointment. And if any of your listeners, are schools, because you mentioned, schools don't really teach you this. I do go into universities, colleges. I go into high schools. So if anybody wants to contact me directly, also employers, like I said, Boeing, MPI, from the large to the small employers. Church groups have been really big about bringing me in lately. I think that's really good that they learn that, it's hard to minister someone's spiritual health if they're having so much financial health difficulties, because financial health is the #1 stressor, and quite often it carries over into mental health issues, and it can go back and forth. Again, feel free to reach out and contact me. It's what we're here for.
Awesome. So before we go, I've got 2 last questions for you. So the first would be, what is the best piece of advice that you could maybe give someone that they could start doing today to take control back over their financial situation?
Boy, control is a key word. And my answer to that, I'm sorry, is not going to be sexy. You need a budget. Half the country is struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. Not a coincidence. Half the country has no budget. I think the people who didn't have a budget, if they had a budget, that all those other numbers would be much, much better and much healthier. People get a little scared about budgets. Oh, it's too much work. It's going to take control away from me. And I would challenge them on that to think the other way around. I really believe if you don't have a budget, you are not in control of your life. Your money is. Because if you want to spend money, what do? You kind of look at your money and say, gee, can I afford this? Can I have your permission to spend you, right? Having a budget reverses that process. It puts you in control. Instead of asking your money for permission to be spent, now you're telling your money what it is going to do for you, because now you have a budget and that puts you in control. I'd even get rid of the word budget, because people think, oh, that's negative, right? Oh, you're having problems. You have a budget. I have a spending plan. I don't have a budget. Because what does a budget say? A budget says, this is how I'm going to spend my money now, and this is how I'm going to save my money so I can spend it later. So I have a spending plan.
I really like the spending plan. And I like what you said there about your money's not telling you where you can spend your money. You're telling your money where you're spending it.
Yeah.
That is a really good way of thinking about it. I really like that. I'm going to start using that today.
Feel free to steal that one. And we also have a really good, if people are worried about creating a budget builder. It's an Excel file you can download for free. You can go to, we have 2 websites. You can go to our education website, mymoneycoach.ca, and you can download it there. It's actually being used by the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, FCAC, which is a federal body, and they've actually borrowed our budget builder with our permission, and they use it as the engine for their own budget builder. So it's a really, really strong program, and it's easy to download, very self-explanatory. If you have any challenges figuring it out, there's even a little handout on how to use it, or you can call us. But it's very simple to use.
That sounds great. Wow, Tim, this has been such an informative conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. Before I let you go, I do have one last question for you. What would you say, I don't know if you're working in the office or working from home these days, but what is your favorite office knick-knack? I know it's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I think it's going to be, as I reach over and grab it, and I don't know if this will show up because I got a virtual, but it does show up good.
Oh!
Is my globe.
Oh, cool.
There we go. Oh, it just faded. Yeah, okay, there we go. It's my globe. It kind of, I got this when I was on a trip a few years ago, and it just kind of reminds me that we are all in this together, because every day I look over and there's my little globe, and sometimes I turn it to different countries and just have a different view, and it just really helps remind me that we are in all of this together.
Absolutely. Well, that was so great. Thank you so much, Tim. We really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today on the resource review. And I'll make sure that we put all of your contact information in the description below the video.
Perfect.
So, thanks everybody for joining us today, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks very much for the opportunity. Bye.